this week's episode of the Autohaus podcast.
You know what's funny that you mentioned that is I think the reason why I'm so loud behind the wheel is because and like you said, I'm pretty reserved in person. Like, yeah, and I think because I've always grown up as like a shy child. I had issues of like, you know, showing emotion and like just letting myself be who I am in person until I get behind the wheel and like I'm in close where in something that I'm very comfortable in. And I'm in a race car. I'm behind the wheel. I have a helmet on. No one knows what I look like. They just see the aspect of how the car is moving, and that's how I could show my personality. And I think that's why I love driving so much, is because I get to show my personality through the way I drive. And you know, deep down inside, I am wild.
This is the Autohaus podcast. We have another special guest today. Can you say your name and give yourself a short introduction?
Hi, my name is Jeff Wolfson, from the Bay Area, San Francisco Bay Area, drifter, car guy.
Why are we interviewing you, Jeff? Why are you such a special guy?
I guess I did a little something in a sport called drifting, in a series called Formula Drift. Did that for a little bit.
Before we get into that, we have one more guest with us today. Can you say your name, give yourself a short introduction?
Hey guys, it's Grant from Battle Grudge, and we are here today to talk with Jeff.
How do you know Jeff?
How do I know Jeff? Oh, because we started off drifting.
Jeff, how do you guys know each
as
other?
kids?
It's funny stories,
right?
A lot of
funny stories with a team called Team Thrust.
Yeah.
Calvin, if you're out there, hello.
Yeah, Calvin. Yeah, he actually our buddy Calvin, that, you know, he went to Oak Grove High School, and he kind of like basically brought every single drifter in high school together. You know, like, you know, I'm from Piedmont Hills. Matt Field, you guys might know him, is from Independence. Grant is from, I don't know what high school he's from. Some school in, you know, the rich hills up in, I don't know, in San Jose, you know. And then, you know, all high schools in the Bay Area, Oak Grove. You know, like he kind of like figured out who was drifting, and it kind of happened weird because like we would hit up like all the NorCal drift events and like, you know, illegal parking lot drift areas, and
Definitely
we would run into each other and like, yo, what school are you from? And then like somehow this one guy would bring us all together, and he would set up nights where we go out and just have fun. You know?
How long is statutes of limitations?
It's probably
right?
This is like 2005. So I
all right, dude, we're golden.
Like
all right, let's
15
all
years,
of us
dude.
are too old for that.
Yeah,
okay, all right.
Yeah.
I mean, actually, so I met Calvin in CCOC. So I was the one weirdo that took a bus from Leland to go to CCOC and like learn how to do engines and transmissions. And there I met Calvin.
What class was he doing at CCOC?
Engines and transmissions.
So he was in your class.
Mhm. Yeah, and then I had only just heard about drifting at the time, but I didn't. No one at Leland knew what drifting was. I remember if I would talk about drifting, they're like, "Well, you mean like you're homeless? Like you're like a piece of wood in the water? Like, you know?"
It's so weird because back then, when like people interested in like what you did, like girls in high school, like, you know, like girls don't talk to me, but they were like, "Oh, well, like what do you do with cars? You race?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I drift." And they're like, "What the fuck's drifting?" And I'm like, I would have to show them like an Initial D clip, and they're just like, anime? I'm like, oh, this isn't working for me, right? It was so bad. But nowadays, you know, like you talk about drifting, everyone's like, yeah, I seen that movie, you know, like Tokyo Drift. Yeah, you know, Von Gittin, he's a drifter, and like Tanner Faust, he's like, you know, he makes hella money, and like Ken Block kind of drifts, and it's like so
super
mainstream now.
Yeah,
but back then, I'm just
mainstream.
like, I was so embarrassed to like tell anyone I was.
You were
drifting.
embarrassed, dude? I was proud.
I don't know.
It was hard
I was
to.
embarrassed.
It was hard to
know?
explain what it was, but like I've definitely sealed some
Yeah.
deals on dates. Like,
That's funny.
like
yeah.
sliding a car around. I'm sure
Nowadays,
you have too.
yeah. Dude,
No, I mean back then.
back then, no,
Yeah.
it was hard, dude. Yeah, like when they would ask like what kind of car I drove, dude, they're like, Nissan 240. What is that? You know, like, oh yeah, my mom had one. I'm like, oh, you know, like it wasn't a really cool car.
Yeah.
You know, like, you know, it was just. But nowadays, they're just 240s. Yeah, those are great drift cars, and this is coming from like an 80-year-old grandpa, right? I'm just like, yeah, it's so crazy how times change, right?
It's wild, like, because me and Grant were just at Texas talking to John Yim about how rapidly things have changed. So we'll get into it, but like Formula Drift, like just being like an open day before, and then like you said, not that long ago, people were like 240 was a grandpa car.
Yeah.
And then no one knew what drifting is. Where for me now as a Corolla guy, when I tell people like I specifically do like grip events like track days or autocross, this I almost get like reprimanded. Like, what? You don't drift?
Yeah.
Like, come on, man.
Actually, yeah, I'm gonna give a shout out to Calvin because back then there was the OGs like Calvin Juan and other guys from San Francisco that were drifting and like they had their own thing, but we were like the next generation. We were the young kids that were getting into it. And I remember Calvin would work 2 jobs and go to high school so that he could buy his S14, you know, his 240s and stuff, and he would buy all Kazama parts, right? Like from Japan before there was any easy way to get that stuff. I don't even know where he got those parts. But this guy was like hardcore, super dedicated. And I remember like on some rainy nights, like he'd be like monging on like Monterey Highway just to practice, right? And he wrecked a bunch of cars doing that, you know, but like he just wouldn't give up, you know, he'd just keep at it.
Yeah.
And he found a group of these guys, which we call ourselves Team Thrust at the time, and several of them had ambitions to go, you know, pro. And
one of us did, or 2 of us did, actually.
Yeah, 2 guys did. So he's the guy that pulled all that together. Yeah. So
and I guess too is another reason why I think that group worked so well together is that we were all competitive. Like Grant picked up drifting, racing really fast. Matt Field was, you know, competitive. He raced off road with his dad, competitive, right? Me, I just want to be as good as the next person or better, right? And then Calvin, same thing. You know, we all come from different backgrounds, and I think that's what pushed us to be who we are today. You know, like me, I did FD for a little bit. I'm still competitive in any type of racing. Grant, you know, business wise, competitive, or maybe racing too. And then Matt Field, he's in FD, you know, the most competitive.
I was always there to have fun though.
Yeah, I think we all were, you know. But yeah, it's just I think that group, that group of drivers, drifters in high school, I think definitely like pushed us, like all of us, you know, at a young age.
Everyone was ambitious.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, and it's cool because like I don't look back on that like segment of my life that much until like kind of you brought
it up, right?
But like it, but just me thinking about it now, I'm like, dude, that definitely like set the course like for the person I am today, which is cool, you know, because like when I look at cars in general, I think, oh, I've always been into cars, you know, I love cars. But like that group of friends definitely pushed me to get where I am today. Yeah.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember there's a bunch of like really impressive guys in you know, in that group. So Jeff's a year younger than I am, but I remember even when I was like 17 or 16, I remember coming over to Jeff's house, and I think he had like an Evo and a bunch of 240s at the time, and I think he was probably like 17 or 16, but he was like wiring up like a radio. And like at the time, like electricity was like, you know, magic. You know, right? I just didn't understand it all. And like this guy, a year younger than me, which in high school is kind of a big deal, was like just, you know, wiring up his radio, and I was like really impressed by that. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is back then, like I think we're fortunate because we didn't have like we kind of all did everything on our own. Like we didn't want to pay people to do it because the fact that like we got together and did like a motor swap, and then you know we had the support of our friends was cool. You know, like I think like having that knowledge and that drive to do everything on your own was great as a young age because no one does that anymore. You know, everyone just kind of pays someone else to do it, or they don't do it at all because it's too hard. And then I think that
and there wasn't YouTube back then.
There wasn't
right?
YouTube. Yeah, we just kind of like figured it out and did it ourselves because we didn't have money in high school, right?
Right, and we'd help each other out.
Yeah,
to try to figure it out too.
It's crazy to think back, you know, and now see how like the car industry is now today. You know, where people were just buying off the shelf stuff and like running like 42K spring rates because they don't want their rim to hit the fender. You know, I'm just like, dude, like what is going on? You know, I mean, like no disrespect to those people, but it's just crazy. And I feel it's weird because that's something my dad would say to me when I was starting out drifting. Like, you guys are idiots, you know, like wasting tires, blah, blah. And I'm like, but we were doing the same thing and like 42K spring rates, man, you know, like we're the old ones saying like, what are you doing with like 7 degrees of camber in your front, you know? Yeah. But yeah, it's just nuts, you know, to see the car industry from like, you know, go and our lifespan, you know, and it's just gonna keep going.
of him.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I remember Calvin was over because Calvin's over at the and Calvin was over at the house, and like he's a little bit of a fob. He's like a Viet fob guy, right? And like one time he's like, yeah, let's watch a video, right? And then my dad was like, video, and then Calvin literally like whimpered. He was like,
Yeah, actually, yeah. It's funny that you mentioned that. It's because Calvin always had like he's kind of a fob, but he'd always have like the weird pronunciations on like just random stuff, like just everyday stuff, right? Like he'll come to my house and like I'm painting my car, right? And he's like, hey, why don't you use enamel? And I'm like, wait, what? What are you talking about? I'm like,
Release
enamel
enamel.
paint. And I'm like, what do you mean, dude? Like, what kind of paint are you talking about? And he's like, enamel. I'm like, dude, spell it out for me, right? And he like spells it out. I'm like, you mean an enamel? Like enamel paint, like enamel paint. He's like, yeah, enamel. And I'm like, dude, it's enamel, bro. Yeah, it's funny.
but
yeah.
I mean, like, and like, you know, we'd be doing dumb stuff. We'd be like going around CCOC pretending to be like drifting cars and stuff. Like we'd be like, right,
Yeah.
enough to where the teacher would be like, what the fuck are you guys
Yeah,
doing? Because
yeah.
you know, it didn't make sense back then since no one knew what drifting was. But this guy that's 17 or 18, like I remember he bought a. He worked hard enough to get a 240 with a Skyline with all-wheel drive in an S14 chassis. Do you remember that thing?
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like pretty amazing, dude.
Yeah. That's the
Where's Calvin right now?
I don't know.
I have no idea.
I don't know.
Yeah.
He just kind of disappeared. He maybe he's in San Jose for all I know. But
Maybe, yeah. I mean, like I randomly ran into like the groups like the people we hang out in high school, but like Calvin, one of them is like I don't see, and it's unfortunate because like he had talent, you know, and like I think he was a great driver and a good friend, and I don't know, just maybe, you know, life just kind of like everybody, like life just kind of directs you in a different path.
Hopefully the podcast has a big enough reach. But yeah, if someone knows where Calvin is, let us know.
Yeah, I think it'd be cool to have him on a podcast. Just
Oh, yeah, that'd be
kind of
sick.
see like an outside perspective of his like the way he sees like all his friends, you know, and it'd be kind of cool. We'll see what happened. You know, I'm sure he has some cool stories to tell. But yeah, I mean, moving on.
So Jeff,
Yeah.
how did you work your way up to FD?
To be honest, dude, it's just always trying to just be better. And
So you got your start on the street.
yeah. Like, you know, like every drifter, you know, like if a drifter, if someone that's into drifting tells you like, oh, I've never drifted on the street, they're lying to you. You know, like it's just a
They're
given.
lying
Like,
to
dude, yeah, like you're gonna go to a parking lot, you're gonna be at a stoplight, you're gonna look at all four corners, you're like, shit, no one's around, it's raining. They're gonna do like a freaking J turn, you know, they're gonna pop the clutch. Everyone's gonna do it, you know. But I got my start in drifting, you know. I growing up as a kid, I used to watch a lot of like car movies, you know. Like my dad would, you know, put on movies, you know, Gone in 60 Seconds, Bullet, a lot of car movies, and I would always see like chase scenes, and a car would come around a corner with the wheels pointed in a direction. Like you would always see the wheels straight on. I'm like, dude, that's really cool. Like I don't know what it is, but it was really cool seeing the wheels turn the opposite way. And when drifting got popular, I was like, that's what I want to do. That's exactly what I want to do. Like the wheels are pointing the way they're sliding. That's exactly what I want to do. So I told myself I need to get good at that. So, you know, I bought a 240, and at the time I wanted an Integra, you know, with a JDM front end, with spoon bronze wheels, you know, and I immediately wanted a 240. And then I got a 240 and welded a diff. Everyone thought I was stupid in high school. You know, they were like, oh, you're dumb. You welded a diff. Like, that's the dumbest thing I ever heard. Nowadays, it's like the normal thing to do in a 240. The first thing you do.
They make kits specifically to weld your diff
No,
now.
you just yeah, they do now, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, before I would just take it to a dude that welded. He's like, hey, can you weld these 4 spider gears together? Yeah. Thanks. And then just take it home and then put oil in it and go drifting. But yeah, I got my start in drifting by going to parking lots, doing donuts, and then you know, trying to do figure eights, and eventually tried drifting in the mountains, you know, and definitely had some really close calls. And you know, I'm telling you, kids out there that's trying to learn to drift, go to a drift event, go to Grange, it's $50. You know, go to Apple Valley Speedway, it's $50. Go to Thunder Hill, it's cheap.
It's a controlled environment.
It
and there's
is.
probably someone
Yes.
there to teach you. And if you
Yes.
get hurt, which is pretty much not that likely unless
Yes.
you're being stupid, there's
Yes.
like medical care on site, so you're not
Right. And
stranded.
it's so $300 to do a skid pad event. $300, dude.
Really?
You know, nowadays you pay $40 and you go do a drift event. It's
Whole
cheap.
day,
Whole day.
maybe even
Yeah.
overnight too.
So so I did that, and I totaled a lot of cars. Almost died a few times. But yeah, and started getting good. And I'm like, you know what? Like, I was getting to the point where drifting on the street wasn't beneficial to me as a skill. Like, I couldn't learn anymore because it wasn't controlled. So I would go to these competitions and then put myself against better drivers, and that pushed me to be better.
What competitions did they have back then?
They had a event at Altamont Speedway, Altamont Raceway up in, I think it's near Tracy.
Mm-hmm.
And they would do night drifting, and they'd had little competitions. And then Drift Battle came around. Fat Lace put that on. Mark Arsenal and Jay Lapid, Al Lagura, and Jay Pizarro from Drift Unit. They all put this event to like have these kids come out and compete, and we would all compete together and do good. You know, we were all competing for a license. And then in SoCal they had Drift Day. You know, and that was for licensing to go to a Formula D licensing event in Laughlin, Nevada, and then you know, we would do that. So it was just a kind of uphill battle to be a Formula D driver, essentially, you know, because that's like the end goal, to be better, you know. And this was before like a lot of big name Formula D drivers or anybody, you know. They were all trying to make a name for themselves back then, you know. And yeah, it's pretty cool. Like, believe it or not, like, I was competing with Forrest Wang for a FD license back in 2007. Like, he was like a nobody. And like me and my buddy Darius was at the same event he was at, competing for the same license.
Darius competed for...
Yeah, so my buddy Darius from high school, in the Piedmont Hills High School. Basically, we were the only two drifters in high school. And
What did Darius drive back then?
He had a S14 with a SR. Yeah, pretty cool car. And basically, we met, actually. It's a funny story because he was one of the guys that told me I was stupid for welding my diff. He was like, we had English class together, and then like, you know, he'd always ask, like, hey, you know, like every week, every Monday morning, he's like, hey, what'd you do in your car, man? Like you do anything cool? And I'm like, yeah, I welded my diff. And he literally looked at me like I was like an alien. Was like, yo, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. And
his family has an automotive background, right?
Yeah,
like his dad operates a repair shop for European cars.
Yeah,
So
BMW 2002.
He knows what that means. Like,
yeah, you know. And then so I told him I welded the diff, and he was like, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. I'm like, and then the thing is, like, this is like maybe the second time he's talked to me, and he was like telling me I was stupid. So I was like, man, forget this guy. Like, I didn't even want to hang out with this dude. And then, believe it or not, like, we're best friends to this day, you know. And like, he has probably more welded diff than I have in any of my cars. But yeah, so
you won.
I want to say win, but like, him and I became close, and we actually went down the path of trying to be you know, professional drifters together, you know. And then after high school, we kind of just figured out, you know what, maybe becoming a pro FD driver wasn't in our books, because we were all trying to, you know, go to college, and it was just a lot of money, you know, because the event that we did go to, a Formula Drift Nationals event in Laughlin, costed a lot of money. At 18 years old, to drive across the country was a pretty hard thing to do, you know. And we just figured it wasn't in our books. And then you know, I actually went and circled back and tried doing it again, because, you know, I love drifting that much.
I didn't know you tried to do it again. So,
yeah.
So the first time getting your FD license, what was that like first?
It was cool. Back then, drifting was more, it was less mainstream. People were worrying less about what sponsors and what their car looked like. It was just pure sport, you know. And then now, like, the second time around, it's all about like horsepower.
So,
you know.
How many year gap was it between first and second time around?
The first time was 2000, I think 7, and then the second time around was 2012.
Okay.
So like around 4 years, you know, that separation.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
And then I know the second time around, the car you drove was.
It was. I got my license in a 240.
Yeah. Your second car was.
My second. Oh wait, like one of my cars. I've had like a Corolla, if you want to. Okay.
Jesus, Jeff.
I know I'm talking to Corolla boys here.
You're Cyan, dude.
So I got my license with, you know, a V8 powered 240, you know, the easiest thing to do.
between 2007 all the way up to when the FRS got released. There was that's a huge time gap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like driving 240s my whole life, driving career, and then jumping to a 2J powered FRS.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was a new car, and
because I think during that era between those two times, there was a big change when Daigo came with that SC 430 that was like 900 or 800 horse, right? That changed everything for everybody.
Yeah, it did change the game. People or like, they were okay with 400 horsepower, pro cars, and then all of a sudden, Daigo from Japan comes with a 980 horsepower 2J SC 430 with 275 40 18 tires in the rear, and he was just running away from everybody, and and he's on every single person's door, and that definitely like made a splash, in the US drifting scene, pro drifting scene. Yeah, and he's actually coming back this year with a brand new car, so it's gonna be interesting.
First time around, how many years did you run FD, or like how many events?
So my first year.
Yeah.
So my first year was 2013. Oh, I believe it was 2014.
Or the very first time, 2007.
Oh, 2007. So that was I didn't get to Formula Drift. I tried getting my license.
Oh, but you didn't get your license.
No.
So,
I
but in 12 you got your license.
In 12, yes, I did. Yeah.
How many events or how many years did you run when you got your license in 12?
2 years. It took me 2 years to do like Pro-Am Archer to it's like a licensing series, and then you're able to like move up to Formula Drift.
Okay.
So it took me 2 years of just doing Pro-Am and trying to like get back into it because I haven't drifted in like 4 years, and then just kind of getting back into the whole sport and like maybe streamlining my way up to Formula D, because like I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna do it. I'm not gonna like waste my time doing drifting for fun anymore. I just want to get to Formula Drift.
Yeah.
I think that's a part of the reason why I don't do FD anymore, because while I was doing drifting and FD, I kind of like lost the passion, and I stopped having fun, because I think the whole aspect of me trying to streamline my whole like FD career definitely played a part in that, because I think if it just kind of happened naturally and like fluidly, where I got my FD license because I was actually just doing good, and it got sponsored because I was actually doing good in Pro-Am, and I trust I think it would have been more fun. Yeah, but I streamlined it like we were talking earlier about why I was running FRS and FD, because I was trying to streamline the sponsors, right? I knew that car at the time was a brand new car on the market. I knew it was easy to approach companies with a proposal of this is what I want to do for FD. This is the car I'm running, and believe it or and it actually worked, because people were like, they didn't even care who I was. I would approach them and they would be like, "What kind of car?" That's the first thing they would say. "FD, you doing Formula Drift? What kind of car?" And the first thing I would say, like, "Oh, Scion FRS." They're like, "Okay, done. We will sponsor you." And I'm just like, "Cool." And then they're like, "Oh, you're doing Pro 1 too, right?" And because Formula Drift has Pro 1 and Pro 2. So I was doing Pro 1. So they're like, Pro 1, FRS, big ticket item right there, cha-ching to them, So I was only the third person to do an FRS and Formula D. It was Ken Gucci, and then Ryan Turk, and then me, and then Tony Angelo was kind of like in and out of Formula Drift.
Oh man,
Tony. Wasn't he a judge or something?
Yeah, he was a judge. He was a technical advisor at one point. But yeah, so he had a FRS, but he wasn't running it at the time. So it was just me, Tony, Ken Gucci, and Ryan Turk, the only three FRSs in FD in 2013. So it was kind of a big deal, and so I ran FRS, and I had a problem with developing that chassis and actually everybody did. Ryan Turk, Ken Gucci, myself, we all had issues. We weren't having really a good time with that car.
Yeah, we talked about it off the podcast, but that was a positive and negative to run a brand new chassis, right? So talk about some of the positives were that a lot of sponsors immediately were like on board, but what were some of the negatives?
Negative was it was an unfamiliar chassis. There was no data. It was hard to, basically every Formula Drift turn was like a test. 40 to S14, but there was no data and there was no development for FRS, so it was really hard to figure that car out. And I till this day I feel like if I just stuck with what I knew for FD for Formula Drift, I with a 240, I would have probably done a lot better. It would have been harder. It would have been more money for me because I would have to pay for sponsor, like the parts that I was sponsored for the FRS. I would have to pay out of pocket. But I think in the long term, I think it would have been a lot better for me.
It could have taken a long time though.
It could have, yeah, it could have, but it would have.
I feel like that's the best path.
It was a less learning curve for me. Yeah,
I think that's interesting. Like, no matter what path you choose, both were a gamble.
it was. Yeah,
Like,
but
yeah,
sometimes it's better just kind of stick with what you know. Right?
Interesting.
It is. Because when you drive a car, it's like an extension of your body. And like if you're used to a certain car, that's what you should be like, fighting people with, or like anything, right? Like if you have a certain tool that you use, that feeling, right? You're gonna keep using it for no matter what, all your competitions. But then you're like, you know what? I'm gonna jump to a brand new tool because it's the newest, greatest thing, and I'm gonna go straight to professional. And you're trying to learn like this doesn't work, and that's what I did with the FRS.
What kind of problems did you have?
Just like the steering feel, like the caster setup, like. I didn't have really good feedback with the steering wheel, so I couldn't really feel the car. It was a totally different engine setup. I went from a torquey V8 engine to a really peaky turbocharged 6-cylinder. That was a really hard time to get a learning. It was hard to learn that power curve.
You said you had S13 front suspension on that car.
I did. Yeah, I had 240 suspension on FRS because no one really developed a front.
Of course, no one. That car's only been out not even a year, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, no. Actually, I forgot about another person that ran the car. I forget because he has a BRZ. His Daijiro Dai Yoshihara. He has the same chassis, but he has freaking Mike Kojima behind him. He has handmade knuckles and suspension. And then it's funny because I actually reached out to Mike Kojima and I was like, hey, do you think you guys can help me with my suspension? Like I need some input. And they were like, sorry, secret. And I'm like, damn, dude, like I just needed some measurements, and I just need some help. And then it was,
dude, it's funny, like, cause I really follow Moto IQ, so I know Mike has been running Dai's drift program for a long time, and they said the biggest problem they kept blowing up engines.
Yeah, for them.
So I know Dai was running an F20, F820.
No, he always had a V8.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's a twin turbo.
Interesting.
I don't know if it's twin or single turbo, but they had always an LS series, LS Architect motor in his BRZ. The only person that ever ran like a FA motor or a boxer type motor in the FRS is I think Ken Gucci for a little bit.
Oh wow, interesting.
Yeah, and then there was another guy that ran at FRS. I forgot his name. Toshiki Yoshioka. I think he did.
He's a Corolla guy.
Yeah, so he ran FRS and he actually totaled that thing a year before I entered my FRS, so he was out, and I jumped in, and
Dude,
so
wait,
there was multiple people that tried to do FRS, and
are you saying Gucci was running with that F820?
he did. They tried, yeah. For I think I don't believe it was like exactly an F820. Maybe it was like a boxer motor,
an EJ or something.
EJ, or maybe it was FA, but I know they had issues with the engine.
Okay.
Yeah, they had multiple power plants for that, I think, and then they finally went to 2J, and then he started doing a lot better. Yeah. It's funny because I was thinking about keeping a FA in that car, and a lot of people would have backed it too. I think John Reed was like trying to do development on that chassis. Yeah, he's like a famous tuner, and I reached out to a local Subaru tuner. His name is Mike, I think, with GST.
Yeah.
So I asked him like, hey, I want to do Formula Drift, and I want to use this motor. Like, what do you think? He's like, do you have money to have 2 engines on a trailer and then 2 engines back home and then 1 engine in your car every week, race weekend? I'm like, no, maybe 1 motor. He's like, then you can't run a super motor because you're going to need 1 motor for practice, another motor because it's going to blow up from the trailer, and then the other motor in the trailer, the third one is for race day, actual race day. And then you're going to need 2 more motors back home because when you get back, you need those 2 motors to put back in the car to make it run, and then you gotta send those blown up motors to get rebuilt. to this day, that same motor has been running good in my car. 10 years later, not 10. It's like 7 years later. Yeah, 2J. So it makes less power now, but 400 or 500 horsepower. I all day. I don't do anything to it. Change the oil, warm it up, make 500 horsepower. Easy.
I mean, how much were you shooting for with the FA?
I mean, I would have loved to make 800. Because everyone in Formula Drift was 1,000. Even if you were making 1,000, you're telling people you're making 1,000. 800, 900. You need to at least have 800 to 900 horsepower to compete with anybody. Because it's a high grip. Motorsports. And a lot of people get that misconception about drifting is you don't need grip, but Formula Drift, Formula D has some of the most grippiest cars in motorsports. Yeah, it's so weird that we set up our cars grippier than most race cars in mechanical grip. We set our cars up with a lot of mechanical grip, so we could gain speed while spinning tires, and that's crazy. Yeah. So yeah, you need 1,000 horsepower if you're putting down. You're putting a 295 race tire, and you're trying to spin it while spinning a tire at 100 miles an hour. To spin that more, that's a lot of power. So yeah, that's what drifting is now.
So you did more than FD Pro-Am. You actually competed in Formula Drift competitively.
Yeah.
So how many competitive events did you do?
Like all together, or just in general, or just
with the
Formula
FRS?
FRS, I only did Formula Drift pro. That's the only events I ever did in my FRS was pro events.
So you drove against the big name drivers we still see today.
Yes.
Wow.
In a car I've never driven before. Yeah. In an engine I've never driven before.
And across the entire country too.
Yeah. So I would show up and I'm next to Von Gittin Jr. or Tanner Faust. I'm just some 24-year-old shithead kid in a 900 horsepower FRS. I'm just cool. I've been watching these fools drive my whole life, and I'm next to them, and I don't know what to do with this car because I've never driven it before.
That reminds me, being a kid. Tell the listeners the Taka Iono story.
Oh, shit, which one? I've known Taka for a long time.
See, I didn't even know that. I didn't know you knew Taka for a long time.
So I used to do an event. There used to be called Drift Day NorCal, and it was a sanction of Drift Day, which was an event ran in SoCal, Drift Day, and Taka would come up and just drift with all of us at Golden Gate Fields and up near Berkeley, I think.
Yeah,
close to Berkeley. Is it Berkeley? Maybe. Yeah. Anyways, yeah. So yeah, that's where I met Taka. I met Dai over there. And that's my first time meeting, Corolla Taka. And I didn't know who he was. I just thought, it's some Japanese dude drifting. That's cool. I need to pay attention because he seems pretty authentic. You don't meet too many people from Japan, and especially in California,
that's true.
that actually drive. So when you do and they're actually good, you pay attention. And I've always seen, Taka, go up the ranks, become a, FD driver. And he's always been pretty cool, really humble. And he's actually, when I was trying to go for my Formula Drift license the first time, he was, talking to my parents, in Laughlin, Nevada, saying, oh, yeah, that's your son. He's really good. How old is he? And they're like, oh, yeah, he's 16 years old. And he's like, oh, wow. So it was pretty cool. That's a good memory I have of, the beginning of drifting,
Wait, you tried to get your FD license at 16?
Yeah, 16, 17.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah, back then it was easier. You could show up with a stock 240 with a stock SR.
I mean, Ken Gucci did that, right?
Yeah. So it was way easier back then. Now Pro-Am, dude, you need you need to run last year's Formula Drift car.
Oh yeah.
In Pro-Am, for you to get a license now. These Formula Drift Pro-Am drivers that show up to these events, they're showing up with $100,000 race cars with 900 horsepower. It's crazy. You can't even show up in as a privateer Joe Schmo with a stock SR and hope to battle anymore. It's hard. It's crazy. So I mean. you can't do pro-am with $100,000 race car. Like, you can't do pro FD. You know, like, that's what it is. So, like, it could be a good thing. You know, I don't know.
I've heard a lot of reasons why people drop out of FD is purely because of budget. It's so expensive to run FD.
Oh, yeah, it is.
So,
yeah.
what was your particular reason or reasons for leaving or dropping out of FD?
It was budget. Like, a lot of, money. Like, we were spending a lot of money a year, every event. And like I said earlier, it was about, like,
you talked about it wasn't fun anymore.
It wasn't funny anymore. Yeah, I wasn't looking forward to, like, drifting anymore. I was actually, I wouldn't say dreading it, but I guess maybe because, like, we were never really, the car wasn't like 100% ever, so it was always scary for me, you know. So it was tough. So it was a big uphill battle, and I think that's a big reason why I kind of, like, didn't want to do it anymore. I told myself, you know what, like, maybe this isn't for me, you know, because I picked the short end of the stick by picking FRS, or maybe it was my time, you know. And I think it's okay because I look back and I take away more, like, good things from my whole time in, like, racing and in Formula D than I do on the bad stuff. Like, I learned so much as a adult now, you know. Like, I was like 25 years old, you know, like name I don't know how many people could drive across the country 50 hours at 25 years old.
I was gonna say, when I was 25, I wasn't doing shit.
Yeah,
so.
like dude, like, it's kind of funny because, like, my girlfriend, I met her when she was like 25, and then, like, I'm, like, thinking, like, dude, like, I can't picture her driving anywhere, you know, yet alone, like, 50 hours straight to, like, an event
to compete
all night to compete. Like,
Yep.
I look at 25-year-olds today, and I'm just like, there's no way you could do that. Like, like, I can't. You'd break down.
Yeah.
There's no way, and I'm just like, and I'm proud of that, you know, like, because not too many people could do it, you know, and I think that helps me in, like, my day-to-day life now. You know,
Yeah.
like, it is.
I feel like I mean, it's a good point that you're talking about, like, how people now have pro-am, like, last year's Formula D cars in pro-am, and that kind of, like, makes sure that people can get past that minimum bar, so
Right.
they know what to expect, right?
Exactly.
Because I remember, I think when I was helping Matt Field, I remember this guy in a purple Corolla. I've always been a Corolla guy, right? Purple Corolla does well in pro-am with basically a 20 valve, right? In the first event, we go to Long Beach, and, like, you know, it's the first event, and I think, like, third lap in, he just wrecks it, like, on that first turn, like, coming down the straight, and, like, that was the end of the season, basically, as far as I know. Yeah.
Who, the Corolla?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like it's heartbreaking, right? Because there's, like, high entry feed, like, you're getting all, like, you know, psyched up for the whole season.
It is. So you put a lot on the line.
Yeah.
And it's not only your as a driver, it's like family members, your sponsors. It's they put a lot on line, you know. So it's a lot of stress. It's a big weight on your shoulders, you know.
Yeah, big commitment to
Big,
I know,
yeah.
Grant, you don't have to say the names, but I know you told me stories before about people who tried to get into FD and ended up dropping out with, like, $50,000 in debt.
Mm-hmm. Oh, dude,
That's funny you brought that up.
I'm still paying off debt from Formula Drive.
Are you serious?
Yeah, it's been what 5 years.
Man. Oh,
I'm
shit.
still paying that off.
Well,
Holy shit.
I just remembered Ryan from our group.
Oh,
Ryan
yeah,
Bell
yeah.
also. Did he compete in Formula D?
He
or was
did.
it just pro?
Oh, wait, he did really good in
So
Formula Drive.
3 guys from our group
Yeah.
did Formula D. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah,
Yeah. But yeah, same thing. Like, it was just too much. So he tapped
was.
out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's about, like, how much you're willing to endure. You know, it's like,
Say it again. 5 years later, and you're still paying.
yeah, I'm still paying it off. Yeah,
Holy shit.
yeah, it's a lot of money, man. Well, that too is because, like, I like toys, so, like, you know, I you know. I could have paid it off a long time ago, but, you know, I'd rather have cool toys. But anyways, you know, like, but still, it costs a lot of money, you know, like.
Be financially responsible, kids.
Yes,
don't
kids,
Be, don't,
yes.
don't
Don't-
be like Mr. Wolfson.
Yeah, don't be like me, you know, like, I have a lot of nice things, but, you know,
Not really yours.
they will be. They will be. Yeah. Yeah. Whoosh. I
Dude,
just
is
paid
it a lot of
yeah.
nice things, or is it like a lot of little things?
No, it's a lot of nice things. Like, you know, the truck that I use to, like, tow my race car all over
I'm
the
saying, don't
country.
you have like two like EG Civics now?
Yeah.
No, Jeff definitely has some pretty impressive toys.
Yeah. I like fun oddball things. Like some people like driving like a brand new Corvette.
Jeff has a rotary truck.
Yeah. See, like who the fuck buys a rotary truck, right? Like,
Only Jeff Wolfson.
Yeah. So I like weird shit. Like I could have bought a Z06 C6 Corvette, but I bought a rotary truck.
So before the podcast, speaking about liking cool and weird stuff, Grant wanted to hear some of your Corolla stories.
Oh yeah.
Do you even still have it? You don't have a Corolla right now, do you?
No, I tried. I bought a Crash to a Corolla, and then I bought a Corolla shell in like hopes to make one nice one. Like I was trying to save a GTS Corolla from like a wreck, and then it was just not in. I just couldn't do it. I didn't have the capacity to do it. I didn't have I don't have a place to do it. I would have done it on my driveway, so I let that go. But my first Corolla experiences, believe it or not, today it probably sounds stupid, but I traded a 1993 Arc 7 FD for a Corolla. Like this was, I think, maybe 10 years ago. It was a 20 valve Corolla. It was like fully built. It had like every single techno toy tuning part. That's
how good was your FD?
It was just a stock FD with like it needed an engine.
I'm not gonna lie, man. Even right now, I kind of question that.
It was a decent FD. It was like the body was clean.
No. I'm saying trading a decent FD for any Corolla.
It sounds stupid, right?
Well, FDs weren't worth as much.
Yeah,
back
so
then.
this was 10 years ago when FDs were like.
Corollas weren't either, but
yeah,
but
but
you
still,
got a really nice Corolla.
Yeah.
For an FD that needed to work.
10 years ago, 2009.
Yes.
Yeah.
Corollas weren't 5 figures like they are now in 2009.
But they're still pretty nice. Like Corollas back then were still like.
I think I remember how much that car was worth.
Like $5-6 grand, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
but for a blown engine FD.
Yeah, well, it wasn't even blown. It was a low compression FD that was drivable.
Okay, I'm still in disbelief, but go ahead. Continue.
But can you believe like?
No, I can't believe it.
Who the hell? Like I'm saying, like I look back and I'm just like, I traded a fucking FD for a Corolla.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's funny now. But
we actually have a customer that did that.
Yeah.
Who? Oh.
But yeah, but this Corolla was cool though. It wasn't just some Joe Schmo Corolla. It was a guy named Benjamin Case built this Corolla.
That's right.
You Corolla guys might know who
Plex.
he is. Yeah, he actually still to this day still has the FD that I traded him, which is kind of cool.
He put an LS in
it.
Yeah,
he put an LS into it. He tracks it. He drives it all over the country, and he actually puts in work. So I respect that's cool, you know. I sold off his Corolla like an idiot, but whatever. I mean, I wish I still had it.
So you traded your FD for like a fully built 20 Corolla.
Let me explain to you. This Corolla was sick. It was brand new. It was painted really nice. He painted himself.
The
custom.
hatch, right?
Yeah, it was a really nice hatch. It had all the JDM goodies. It had like a carbonetic LSD or ATS LSD.
Damn.
Had a carbonetic clutch, which was crazy. Like I couldn't even drive it. 20 valve black top. Every single part from Techno Toy Tuning, bride seats, bread seats, you know, for you JDM guys. Yeah, it was nice. It was like the nicest Corolla. It had Trust DDs, ITBs, and I would drive that thing to school, drive it to work, drive to, Highway 9, and it sounded badass. It was the coolest car I've ever had. Yeah, and just because it revved to like 9,000 RPM, straight pipe, and then it was cool. And then I sold that car because I wanted to do FD. Actually, it's funny.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like
that's actually not a dumb reason.
Yeah, it was like one of those things. Like I didn't need it, and I wanted something more. So I sold it for like I sold it for like $5,000. It was cheap. Can you imagine, dude? Like that's like every single part you'd ever want for a Corolla,
dude,
right?
That's like $15,000-$20,000
easily,
today.
Yeah. The only thing that would make it better was like legit wheels and that's it. Like it had Koenig rewinds on it. But if you put like
regardless, it was a
wheels,
GTS hatch. So
it was a GTS hatch, non-sunroof, dude. Yeah. No rust. It was nice. Yeah. And it was it's cool, but it's not original. But it was a nicely, tastefully modded Corolla.
What do you miss Corollas?
I do. I like actually. I think I miss Corollas not because of the car. I think I like the community more. I like the aspect of like you can show up at a meet and it doesn't matter who you are. You just show up and everyone's really cool. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
I like that about the Corolla community. It's cool. I don't miss the car necessarily because it kind of sucks driving one every day. They're really fun cars to like drift and take to the racetrack. But like getting in one, you're just like, you don't want to break anything. You're trying to like be gentle, and it's just like, dude, this sucks. Like I don't want to be careful with this car because things are getting really hard to find. But the character, it had like the history, the lineage, like it's cool. Like, dude, that's like probably the last cool car Toyota's ever made. Like legit, like dude, Toyota put a fucking clutch type LSD in a Corolla. Like, who does that? Like in a Corolla, like that like, economy vehicle. Like,
yeah, we talk about it all the time, but in 1985, that was really ahead of its time, right? Multi-port fuel injection. Yep. Yeah, like you said, clutch type LSD in the back.
In the 80s, 90s, early 90s. Yeah. Like, who does that?
The red line was 7,300. Like, cars barely breathed past $5,000 back in the day.
Right.
Yeah. But then they coupled it with a live axle.
Yeah,
but the thing is, that's what makes me think that car was meant to be an enthusiast car since the beginning, because they wanted that thing to be fun to drive, right?
Yeah, well, you think about it back then, because like in Japan, like they looked at like American cars like, oh, that's so cool. Like they respected it in every single American car. But they had live axle. Like, I mean, I'm sure Toyota could have designed something way better, but they saw like, hey, this Chevelle has a live axle and it does wheelies. You know
what? That's a really good point, because if you look at Japanese cars, especially from the 70s, they modeled everything after American muscle cars.
Yeah, because I think it was iconic in a way. Like Toyota could have built a better suspension. It could have built a faster. It could have built like everything better. But I think they took like American muscle car as like an iconic, as as a staple, like as a goal. So they did a live rear axle. So. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Who knows?
I don't know. I think as we're talking about this, behind us is a GTS on the rack, and then an MRS below it.
Yeah,
and like two really fun cars, right?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. I mean,
they definitely have some hits. Toyota does.
I mean, like so well built for their time that they're coming back into resurgence, right?
Yeah, same for like the Civics and Integras. Like. They were so ahead of their time back then that they're coming back and becoming like competitive race cars. Like, dude, who would have thought like back then we would appreciate double wishbone suspension? Like Honda put double wishbone suspension in the economy car.
It's pretty gnarly.
It's gnarly. Like you think about like now, like with this RSX that has like stupid McPherson front suspension and like the steering rack in the wrong place. So, like, why would they do that? And then you look at the EG Civics and EKs and the DC2 Integras, you're like, damn, somebody knew suspension back then. They had a purpose for it, So it's cool that it's coming back around, and all these people are racing golden era cars, Because if you think about it, you're never gonna see this era, like the 2000 to 2020 cars racing like you see DC2 Integra type cars, like Corollas. You're not gonna see that. Like you think about it, like what's a good car today that people drive? What like a Chevy Cobalt? Like, no one's gonna race that 10 years from now. The suspension is not designed well. It has an I-beam rear suspension. Like, like I think about it all the time. Like that, like the Civics today, like the 2020 Civics. I mean, like, okay, the Type R is a different story, But like you think about the 2016 Civics, and I always look at those on the road. And I'm like, is that gonna be the next EG Civic of today?
Probably not.
Probably not, because that suspension wasn't really designed for like performance. Someone was like, what's going to be the cheapest way to get this car on the market, and what's going to be most cost effective to make 1 million of them, right?
Yeah, there's very little room for like enthusiasm built into cars these days, because the margins are just getting tighter and tighter.
Back then,
experimentation too.
Exactly. And back then, dude, when people were designing the EG Civics and the Integra Type R's, they had a crew, the R&D crew, they're like, it needs to have double wishbone suspension. It needs to have this camber curve. And everyone would be like, okay, cool, we're going to do that. And then guess what? Today, it's like a really fast grip car, But nowadays, they're just like, what's the bottom line? Like we need to have, we need to make the most money. So.
And I think that's why some of these older cars are that people didn't care about before are getting popular again, because people know that cars aren't going to be the same.
Right,
like it's just a different world now.
Yeah, and the things, I make that comparison every day because I'm kind of like, I'm like worried. Like I'm worried about the future, because like, the young car people like of us like 10, 20 years from now. Like a 100-year-old EG Civic on a racetrack, like that's not possible. You're not gonna be able to find
Earlier,
parts.
when you guys talked about like your high school cars, what cars you guys got into with drifting. So let's just say those were cars 10 years older than you guys.
Dude.
For this current generation, 10 years older were crappy cars.
Yeah.
So
What is that now?
like 2009, like Toyota got rid of the MRS and Celica for
Yeah,
the
like,
Scion
what
brand.
what kind of
Hey, what is that,
2009?
Mustang?
What kind of 2010 car that you could like iconic car that I guess a Mustang.
3
like,
Series costs too much to run.
Yeah, 2010 3 Series. I don't know, man.
You know what? The only thing
Hyundai,
is the
there it is.
Hyundai or
That's,
Genesis.
that's the spot, dude. This Genesis.
God.
yeah.
or the 350Z. That's the hot
Yeah,
chassis.
yeah,
now.
Yeah, it is.
Okay,
I
alright.
guess you're gonna
That's
have
what
a
it
bunch
is.
of 250Zs.
But I mean, that's
But
why
even
they're so
then-
popular, because that's the only thing in that era that's
Yeah, but
like
they
fun,
They
right?
still have shitty suspension on that car too.
But
That's the last. That's the last one, right?
Yeah.
but if it's the only thing, then
that's what it is.
you know?
It's not, but the thing is, like, I'm not hopeful. Like, if all they have left is a 250Z, 370Z, that's gonna suck.
Well, and you know what's also scary is the simulators are getting better and better.
That's true. People
right?
are not gonna need
and
cars
people are
anymore.
getting lazier and lazier.
Yeah, that's gonna be weird. Yeah.
So it's like, do you really want to do people really want to grind the way that we did when
I
we were
don't
doing
think
team
so.
thrust stuff?
You're right. No one wants
Like
to
that,
go out
and
drive.
and you know, it's not just a concern that we're having here at this table. Like when Ezekiel and I went down to SoCal, we made a trip down there. We talked to people that are trying to save the industry, right? They're older guys like us, and they want to try to ignite the enthusiasm into the younger populace, so we can keep this industry like alive and well, right?
Yeah, you're right. It's hard because like you brought up like what sim racing and like they're taking people who are good at sim racing and taking them straight to Formula One. Like that's what it is now. Like this like they have a whole series. Like if you're good at PlayStation Gran Turismo,
Right.
you compete with all these Gran Turismo drivers.
Yeah, we have a friend that did that.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden you're the best at Gran Turismo racer. You do F3, Formula 3, Formula, and then you Formula 2, Formula 1. And this person's never ever changed oil on his car that he took to the track.
Mhm.
Never had to like worry about his go-kart. Like, like trying to make the race. He straight up bought PS4, Gran Turismo, and then just got good at that. And is that how we're gonna start like growing racers now in the future? And I think that's how it's gonna be, right? Which is crazy because I read an article this morning that like it's funny because they say back when Formula One was like just all mechanics and like just pure driving, you could put a monkey in a race car and they'll do laps. Like monkey as a race car driver, like any monkey, right? Now you kind of need like a computer science major to run an F1 car. Like Sebastian Vettel, I think I could quote him on this. He said he doesn't even know how to start his own F1 car. He said it's too confusing. There's too many buttons, like, and that's actually crazy to think because that's where racing's going. Like everything's all virtual, and computers, which is crazy. Yeah. So we'll see in 10 years. We'll see what kind of, like if people are still driving Corollas and building engine oil, petrol powered engines, we'll see. Sometimes you want to use like the rusty tool that's more fun, and that's what.
But this is just part of society moving on, right? Like imagine all the guys that drove Model T Fords or whatever, those cars where you had to clutch all crazy, right? They're like, oh, this was fucking fun. I have to change the ignition timing as I drive, like, right? And like, oh, the kids won't appreciate that. Yeah, we don't give a shit about that anymore.
No, we don't.
Yeah. Yeah. I also remember like my dad driving me to elementary school. And I remember like being concerned about like, man, electric car's gonna come, and like I really want to be able to drive a gasoline car, but there won't be any gas stations around. Like, how's that gonna work?
You thought about that as a
I
kid?
did.
never thought
Yeah,
about that.
I did.
What?
I've been
what,
ruining this day for my entire life.
When your dad was driving you to elementary school, what car did your dad drive?
Alfa Romeo Milano.
So
Yeah.
your dad has some cool cars, dude.
That's a little bit different because for the podcast listeners that don't know, Grant comes from.
Wait, is it recording?
Yeah.
shit.
So Hendrix Senior is a Italian car enthusiast.
All kinds of oddball Italian cars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're lucky, dude. Like Dude, my dad got out of the car scene like.
You're lucky. He helped you go drifting. Like, dude, I wanted the
I think he was like living vicariously through me, but like,
yeah.
My dad had all these cool cars before he had me. Like he had cool motorcycles before he had me. He's like, I had to get rid of everything for you. I'm like, bro, like, why can't you have cool things with me? So
what kind of cars did your dad have?
Dude, my dad has some like, he had like cool off road like Chevy trucks, 4-wheel drive. Like he had a Chevy Love that he fixed up. So that thing was kind of cool, and that's the kind of part of the reason why I have this Mazda rotary me of his Chevy Love truck, same body style, but you know, like me, I like JDM weirdness, right? So I had to have a rotary truck, like rotary, you know, yeah. So I bought that because, you know, I thought it would be cool because my dad would, you know, I had a car similar, and he didn't give a shit. He's like, that's weird. Like, why does it have a wrong motor in it? You know, like it's not 4-wheel drive. It's not a truck. I'm like, damn. You know, like all right, cool, whatever. But yeah, he had like motorcycles. He did like he raced motorcycles as a kid, like on Laguna. Yeah, he did some cool stuff, and then he had me, and then sold everything, and and I made it a point that if I ever have a kid, I ain't selling any of my things ever. Like, there's no way. I don't know. I'm call it selfish, but I think my kids deserve to know who I am. You know, I'm gonna keep having fun, and I want to have fun with them. You know, and you know, like I don't like think my dad. You know, like I don't think less of my dad. You know, he grew up in a weird time where you had to work at a very early age and get your shit together. You know, like he had me when he was like 25. You know, can you imagine having a kid at 25 and like getting your shit together?
That's crazy.
He bought a house.
That's more intense than driving across the country.
Yeah, dude, 25, full-time job, you know, had a career, had 2 kids, bought a house, got married.
Dude, cheers to your dad.
At 25. Crazy. And I'm like thinking, I'm 32, and I don't want any of that. You know, like, I can't, you know, so I give him props, and, you know, I'm probably just talking shit, you know, but, you know, I respect it. It's cool, you know, to everyone's parents, you know, I'm sure you guys as parents made sacrifices too, but. Yeah, I don't know. I just think it's different now. I think back then you had to get your shit together fast. Nowadays, you kind of have to create a lifestyle. You know, like you have to show your kids, and you know, like who you are, and you know, like you know, back then it just all work. You know, stay here, stay there, have grandpa watch you. I gotta work. Now I think people raise kids differently, which is cool. You know, it's definitely raising a different type of youth than us. But who knows if that's bad or not? You know, we'll see.
Jeff, did you have you blown up a lot of cars in your lifetime?
What do you mean, like blown up, like ruined engines?
Like, are you hard on your cars mechanically?
No. Well, I am, but I'm also very good at taking care of my cars. So okay. I warm up my cars excessively. You could tell anyone that knows me, you know, I sit in a driveway for like 20 minutes, and everyone's like, "Yo, can we go?" and I'm like, "Nope." And then, or you know, I'll tell people not to slam my doors when they get in my car, and they're like, "You're crazy." And then they slam their doors, and guess what? You're never gonna ride my car ever again. So yeah, I'm hard on my cars, but I also like build them to take that kind of abuse. And yeah, that's why I can't build a show car, because you know they never stay nice.
Oh.
But blowing up cars, the only time I've ever blown up cars is when I'm out at a racetrack having way too much fun and not checking my oil. That's the only time I've ever blown up a car is I'm just at a racetrack, and I'm having way too much fun, and I'm just like want to do laps. I want to get out there with my friends and drift, or like get on their ass and like try to put down a better time, and then I forget to check oil, and then sure enough, you know, rod knock. I crash cars a lot because, you know, when you're abusing and you're driving on the limit, you're gonna crash cars, you know. So
you had a nickname in Formula
yes.
D.
Yeah, they call me Wildman.
Why is that?
Because Jeff is wild. I have plenty of stories from way back.
Yeah, and it's funny because, I was Wildman in high school because I was just like a wild child, and that nickname just came, right. I never really told anyone that. You know, in high school, I was like a wild man. Like my teacher in high school, my teacher in elementary school called me Wild Man Wolfson. You know, Wild Man Wolfman. That's what they call me, right? And the thing is, like, I went to high school. I never really told anyone that my teacher called me that, but because like it just sat well with my last name, people would just say, "Oh, Wildman, cool." And then I went to, I tried getting my license in Pro-Am drifting, just Wildman, because there was no really middle ground. I would just go out there and go ham, right? Go wild, and then
so he's always been driving 1110s.
Yeah, and then my first year in Formula Drift, and then somehow somebody started calling me Wildman. Yeah, and then it's I guess that's when like that nickname's suited for you, right? It's just
came back again.
Yeah, it just sticks in different,
It's funny, like before I knew you, Grant would tell me stories about Jeff Wildman Wolfson.
Yeah.
And then I met you and I was like, this is not the same guy, is it?
Man, hey, you haven't been like at a track event with me. Yeah,
No,
yeah.
I know, but like in your day to day, you're pretty subdued.
Oh yeah,
So-
I am. Yeah.
So like I remember the first day I met you, I was like, no, this guy's like too like respectful and nice.
Yeah,
No,
yeah,
this is
yeah.
not the same guy.
Yeah.
This is not the wild man.
You know what's funny that you mentioned that is I think the reason why I'm so wild behind the wheel is because and like you said, I'm pretty reserved in person. Like,
Yeah, for
yeah,
sure.
and
Yeah.
I think because I've always grown up as like a shy child. Until I get behind the wheel and like I'm in clothes where in something that I'm very comfortable in. And then I'm in a race car. I'm behind the wheel. I have a helmet on. No one knows what I look like. They just see the aspect of how the car is moving, and
Yeah.
that's how I could show my personality.
Yeah.
And I think that's why I love driving so much, is because I get to show my personality through the way I drive. And deep down inside, I am wild. And then when and a few friends that know me, when I do get drunk, it comes out, and I'm doing backflips into my dad's pond in the backyard,
Oh
and
my god.
and doing burnouts in the driveway, and jumping off roofs. Yeah, so definitely underlining wild person inside of me. But I'm like you said, I'm pretty reserved on a day-to-day basis, and I think you have to be. Like you can't be walking into like work fucking drunk and like telling everyone to shut the fuck up and like, hey, get back to work, bitch. You can't be like that. You can't do that. So like everyone needs a alter ego, and I'm glad I found that cars brought that alter ego out of me. Like it's cool. I like it. Dude, I meet so many people that don't have anything to like
Outlet.
they have no outlet, so they're just like wild. So it's,
In
right.
real life.
Yeah, in real life, they're like, I'm like, dude, like how are you wild all the time? Like, oh yeah, the only thing you do is drink. Cool, I get it. So I think people out there, you need an outlet.
Grant, do you have
express
any
your feelings.
wild man driving stories?
There's a couple that come to mind.
Do we have any like legal or like
I mean,
ones you want to share?
I think it's fine.
I
It's
think
been
so,
long.
yeah.
It's been long enough.
Yeah, I mean,
There's definitely we used to go slide on some road out by like, and there was this one time I remember where I think I was riding in Calvin's car, and then Jeff was following. We're going down this like really tight, twisty road. It's like a bunch of switchbacks. And I remember Jeff's personality is he'd always try to push it one step further than the last guy because he's ultra competitive,
Yeah.
right? And I remember we're going around this hairpin, and like Calvin already cuts it really close, but there's a boulder the size of a rock on the inside of the turn, right?
Wait, what do you mean a boulder the size of
there's
a rock?
I mean,
the size of a boulder.
There's a boulder the size of a car.
Yeah,
That's what I'm
yeah,
trying to
yeah.
say, right? There's a boulder the size of a car, and then
I remember that really well.
all right, and then I remember Calvin getting really close, and all the previous
Like
turns.
just nix it. Just nix it.
Jeff was like closer inboard than Calvin was, and then I remember looking back, I was like, "Oh shit, what's gonna happen?" I look back, and I just see headlights going, and all of a sudden the headlights just go sky high. They just go flying up in the air because he clipped the shit out of this fucking boulder that like just launched him, right? So I don't remember what happened to the car, but like
The car was fine. I actually drove over it, and like the boulder started rolling underneath my car.
God.
Yeah, so yeah, dude, I remember that very well because I was trying to get closer than Calvin. I was, and then I was like,
It means something if the fucking boulder started rolling.
Yeah, man.
you hit it hard, dude.
Yeah.
Like the I remember seeing the headlights go up like up to like the lift level, like
Yeah.
like
It
it
was
just went
pretty funny,
really
yeah.
fucking high.
It was
Oh
going
my
downhill
God.
too.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
my god.
So like you couldn't really see the boulder because you're going downhill. It's like a hairpin.
Because we're sideways, right?
Yeah,
Like-
we're sideways. So I was just trying to be better than the person in front of me. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
But and it's funny because like back then, I had a Sylvia front end 240.
Oh my God.
that was, that
and
was a
then
big
that,
deal.
and that was like all these the 240 peers are probably gonna hate me, but I had brick headlights. Like they're I think they were brand new from Nissan. Sylvia brick headlights. If you guys know what those are, they're like pretty rare now. But I had brand new brick headlights. Hit a boulder, ruined a set. Bought new ones off Yahoo Japan. Crashed that. Bought a new set. So I've probably been through like maybe 8 brand new pairs of like brick headlights, and they're maybe equivalent. What's like a really rare part off a Corolla? Like you can't really get anymore.
Red line taillights.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So just imagine I ruined 4 sets of those. 4 sets. Yeah. So that's back then. Yeah.
You know what's interesting about 240s? Back in our day, it used to be really like you used to be the shit if you had a Sil 80 or like a S15 front.
Mm-hmm.
We're like, I don't see that anymore. Like people keep it like the pop up headlights and
That's a good point.
yeah, or like the USDM.
Hey, what happened to Sylvia front ends? What's going on?
I think people like the pop-up lights because it's like
It's nostalgic.
It's nostalgic,
Dude, so when I went to college, there was a guy with a S15 front end on his S13.
Okay.
Oh.
And like that's the kind of like stuff that was popular, whereas now like people keep the stock USDM front end, right?
Yeah, I think it's along the lines of like the keeping things true, to the car. Like they like the way it came from the factory, so they're just gonna like run with it and accentuate how it came from the factory. Like how it was meant to be by the designer. So I think a lot of tuners now, like the nostalgic tuners, I think they keep what the pop-up lights because that's how they came. And I think in Japan they're actually putting pop-up lights in on their Sylvia cars. They're getting rid of the Sylvia front because they like the USDM look too. So it's like it goes back and forth, but I think that's why a lot of people stay with this pop-up lights here.
Japan's different because like everywhere in the world they want what they don't have.
Exactly.
So like we want the JDM fronts, whereas in Japan they're putting USDM Corolla bumpers on their Corolla. Yeah.
But I think now I think people stay with flip-up fronts is because it's
very 80s.
It's very 80s, and it's how they came, and they just want to leave it, and they see the Japanese do it pretty good too, and so there's some nostalgic about that, because they did have 180s over there too, So I'm sure if they didn't have 180s in Japan, it's just all Sylvias. There'd be more Sylvias here, So
are you guys surprised about like the 240 market in current days? I'll tell you because I'm surprised.
Yeah. I mean, it's a little more than the cost of like a 240 now. It's a little more than what I would want to pay nowadays, but I'm not surprised at all. Like it's an iconic car, and but I think it's surprising how much people want for piece of shit 240s. Like a 240 that was crash and like the whole front end was chopped and someone did like a tube front and they're asking like $10,000 for it. That's not even finished yet, right? Like if you want $10,000, it better be like a virgin S14 Koki. Virgin.
Is that what they go for now?
Yeah, like it better be. Like if I think of a $10,000 240, it's like a 1998 5-speed original Koki S14.
Yeah.
Not a S13 with the front end chopped off of it.
So Grant, likewise, I know the days when you can get a clean S13 for $1,800.
Mm-hmm.
So like through this entire span, how have you seen it?
To be honest, I haven't really tracked the 240 market.
Mm-hmm.
So when Jeff's telling me that a Koki S14 is $10,000, I actually don't see that as inflating a whole lot because 6 or 7 years ago, when my friends were looking for Koki S14s, they were like 6,000 or 7,000.
And
so that hasn't changed that much compared to Corollas, right?
Mm-mm. Yeah, because if you think about it, like $7,000 it's a good deal for a Koki Corolla or a Koki S14 5 years ago. That's a good deal. But if you got to pay $3,000 more, like 3 years later, that's not too bad. Because the older it gets, the harder it finds, right? Like, people like me are crashing it,
Interesting. So it seems like from what you guys are saying, the market for Corollas has increased exponentially as compared to the 240 market.
I would say it increased exponentially, but not on the same level as Corolla. Like Corolla has like a certain niche that the 240s don't. you know.
For me, it's like there's a really big difference between S13 and S14, and there's like two different S14s, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whereas like Corolla, it's like
Just two.
not too much difference
No.
between Zenki and Koki.
No, they're basically the same
Not
car.
too much difference.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then also the lifespan, right? So like S13 1989 all the way up to 1996 for S14.
19. So
89 to 96,
yeah,
right? 97?
80,
97, right?
89 to 98.
98.
Yeah.
USDM
I think they
98?
had 98 S14 Corolla or S14 Koki. Sorry, I had way too many.
So that's
beers. But
another
anyways,
thing, like 9-year lifespan
Yeah.
for a 240 versus 3 years
Yeah,
for a
I think-
Corolla.
Well, that's why Corollas are so much more.
And they're still
exponentially-
well, they're also still available, right? Like
Yeah.
I think you can still buy a 240 like without too much difficulty
Yeah,
these days.
yeah, that's true. Because like they made way less Corollas too,
I think so.
so it's about like what's available, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's funny. Like a lot of non-Corolla customers I get here, and then when we went to SEMA, a lot of like out of country people told me like, dude, where are you finding Corollas? And I was like, that's a tough call. Yeah.
Yeah. And here I am like cutting 3 of them up and like
Don't say that, Jeff. How are
throwing
you gonna say
two-
that on the Corolla podcast?
throwing Corolla shit in a trash can. like oh hey, I had a non-sunroof Zenki Corolla and I threw everything away.
Well, this was not recently. This was
this was like a month ago. Yeah, dude, I told everyone, I was like, hey, before I cut this up, can someone pick this up for me? And dude, the thing is, I'm probably gonna get hated on this, but Corolla people are lazy, dude. Okay, so I posted up on a Corolla forum and I was like, hey, I have a Zenki Corolla non-sunroof shell. I don't want to cut it up, but someone take it for free. And not free, but I told them give me $500 because I had I think I had like an expensive Supra rear end in it, sell like a Supra. So I know those things cost like $1,500.
It was a shell with the Celica Super
Yeah,
rear end?
so as a shell, what a
that
Celica
rear
Supra
end's fucking like $1,000
yeah,
right
so
now.
I was like, okay, I know that the rear end was $1,000. So I was like, give me $500 and take everything away. And then I got blown up by a bunch of Corolla people like, yeah, I'll take it. And I was like, okay, cool. It doesn't roll. You have to bring a car and like carry it on your trailer. Or you got to bring a trailer and you got to carry it on because it doesn't roll. And they're like, oh, never mind. I'm just like, bro, like it doesn't roll, but you could get 4 friends to put on a trailer. Like, well, it's gonna be really hard for me to get off the trailer. It's cool. It's all right. I'm just like, I guess you guys aren't. I guess this car isn't worth that much, so I cut it up.
Oh, weird.
I think
it's just I don't know.
I think part of it is in the Bay Area. I think people are just working too hard to survive, right? So maybe in a different part of the country that would have been
limited
'cause-
space too.
yeah, because everyone's just trying to hustle to
That's
pay
true.
rent and
You
like
can't really have
make
like
a life here.
shell sitting on your driveway either.
Yeah.
It's Bay
Oh
Area.
yeah, that's true. There's no space out here.
Like, if it doesn't roll, if it doesn't look like a car, like you can't put it on the street. Like a lot of Bay Area Corolla guys I know, they do engine swaps on the street.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So if they have to put like a car with excuse my language, no cross member in the front, with no rear, like with a rear end hanging out the back, that's gonna look really bad right on the street. So I guess I don't know, whatever.
Almost all my customers from SF say the same thing, where it's like they gotta drive up onto the curb and like work on their car on the sidewalk because that's just how it is.
That's crazy.
Well, I mean, to make people feel better about that Corolla, someone put an RB25 in it, cut the front end off, so it wasn't that nice. So
RB25 in a Corolla.
Yeah, so
where is this guy
so
right now?
I killed that abomination. Like I took it out of like someone cut out. It had no radio support anymore. So like it was.
It's all right, Jeff. You're not the only person that
Yeah.
got rid of his shell.
Yeah,
I'm
so
sure.
I
Yeah.
didn't kill like a pristine Zenki Corolla, and guess what? Like that car actually is gonna live on because I didn't even sell, but I gave the quarter panels to my buddy Michael Stewart. He has like a Corolla, Zenki Corolla that he's restoring. He bought it and it had like quarter panel damage, so he's actually doing the swap right now during the whole quarantine thing that's going on right now. He's actually doing a quarter panel swap because he has time, so he's so that Corolla lives on, and it's cool. I'm not too sad about it.
What is your drift car doing nowadays? Because you still own your FD car, right?
Yeah, and I refuse to sell it. Like, all my good friends are like, sell it, dude, sell it. You could buy a cool BMW. I'm like, psst. But I can't, I'm never going to build an FD car again. So I still have it. I'm never going to sell it. It's sitting at a really good friend of mine, shop in Newark. His name is Cody. He runs a shop called Gin Speed. And it's sitting there. Him and I work together here and there. And he's starting his new shop. And him and I are going to do some cool stuff. So
you want to, I haven't told you this.
Shameless.
You want to hear
shout out. What's that?
You want to hear the story about how I knew you before I met you?
Yeah. Let's hear it.
So I remember this day vividly because this is the first time I went to Buttonwillow. The first time I put the cage in my Corolla, and I had the worst day. That day because I drove to Buttonwillow and drove back home the same night, and I had problems. Of course, right? You prep your car for the track day like too late.
Yeah.
So like I got zero sleep, drove there, had a terrible day, and drove back. But I saw you that day.
Yeah.
Well, not you, but your car. And I remember seeing like this big ass trailer, this like stickered up FRS, and I looked and there's a 2J inside, and that car just came out. I was like, what? Who is this like team, right? With 2J FRS here. And I remember you ran in Group C, which is only like one level above the base group. And I was like, what is this dude?
Hold on. I'm going to tell you the story why I was in that group.
Hold on.
Keep going.
So
it's a funny story.
Who is this guy? Who is this race team in this big ass trailer with a 2J FRS running in only Group C?
Yeah.
And I remember that because the guy next to me had like a 6-speed G35, and he was in the same group as you. And I was like, okay.
So yeah, it's funny because the only reason why, so I initially signed up. I signed up as what is it like
A or B,
A or
right?
B, yeah, like the
like the advanced
group because I've done multiple track days and so the only reason why I was in that group because I went to that track day with a bunch of friends.
Oh.
They were like, hey, just come and like drive with us, and like it's no fun being up there by yourself. I'm like, yeah, but it's no fun driving with you guys because my car is hella faster than you guys. So that's why I was in that group.
Oh, okay.
I was playing like cat and mouse with my shithead friends.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so yeah, it's funny because I remember that it was like what I think Bob's Donuts track day.
It was
yeah.
Bob's Donuts.
Yeah. Black Friday. Yeah,
it was. Yeah.
That was fun.
Did you come by yourself that day?
No, I came with all my friends. Yeah, everybody.
But like, so from my impression, because the trailer was so big
Yeah.
and because of the swap in that car, I thought it was like a team like testing out that car.
Yeah, well, I was a team.
I mean, you drove that day yourself.
Yeah, by myself. I drove my truck and trailer, and that setup was my Formula D setup.
Were you running FD?
That's yeah, I was. So that's
okay, that makes more sense.
That's
then.
right after my first year in FD.
Okay, that makes more sense.
Yeah, that's
then.
between that's right after my second year. That's right after my second year in FD. My last year. That's the last year I did FD.
Okay, well that makes a lot more sense.
Yeah,
then.
so I was like, you know what? I don't. Maybe I could do other events with this car. Yeah. And like full trim drift car was pretty good on a Europe track.
Dude, I remember seeing that car. Like
pretty good.
Like that car had like not tube front, but it was like
no, there's no tubes. It's a basically bone. It's a stock chassis.
Yeah.
With a cage. Yeah. I the reason why it was like that is because I didn't have much time to prep that chassis.
Yeah.
I had like 4 months to build it.
Yeah.
And I missed the first round of FD at Long Beach.
Shit.
So I didn't have much time. So I kept it basic, The most I've done on that car was like stitch weld the whole chassis. And that is solely the reason why I didn't make Long Beach, because stitch weld that chassis took like a month.
I bet. Yeah.
Yeah, but that car is pretty basic. You could take any car FRS off the showroom floor or off Craigslist and put a cage in it. It's basically the same car that I have. Yeah, it made a good. I think it would be a good grip car. And I actually went up to that track day with 10-year-old Hoosiers. I was like, cool. I got slicks, right? It's 315s all the way around. It's gonna be cool. And I learned a valuable lesson that day. That no matter what, if your tires are old, it's not gonna do anything for you. Yeah, I couldn't get it hot enough. Yeah, and then I did a track day at Thunder Hill like maybe a week later on the tires that I was drifting on for Formula Drift. It's like 200 tread were Achilles, and it was the most grip I ever had. Yeah, and over those used Hoosier slick.
I remember watching your run group, and I was like, that guy's not doing particularly
No.
that well.
I was drifting. I was trying,
Oh.
I could not put the power down. Yeah, like there's a video of me out there driving, coming out of I think Sunset, and I'm like, you could hear the revs go up, but the car's not going anywhere the whole way down to the next corner.
Oh my god!
It's because I'm just spinning tire, like
crazy.
Yeah, and but it was fun. Like, I'm a drifter. I don't care. I'm gonna spin tire as much as I can, So, but yeah, it was funny. Like I expected to be the fastest driver.
I expected
ever
you to be the fastest.
because I had 315 Hoosier slicks on the back of that thing.
Yeah.
But it was it's drifter trying to road race. Like I didn't know anything about road racing. I got these tires off some racer, and I was like, hey, he gave it to me for free. $3,000 tires for free. Like that's a huge hint that maybe you shouldn't be running this on a 900 horsepower drift car trying to grip, right? So yeah. But
is that how much your car made in FD
at
trim?
that time? Yeah, it made just shy 900. It made 896, and that was like on the safest tune ever. Like very safe. Like
so how come you detuned it now to like 4,500?
Because I spun a rod bearing in the built motor. And
built bottom end, right?
Yeah, the built bottom end is a 3.4 stroker Brian Crowder bottom end. And I was having too much fun at a drift event, and I forgot to check the oil.
Oh.
And
it's still a 3.4 right now?
No. So I took that motor, the bottom end out. And I found a junkyard SC300 motor, right?
Oh my god.
The secret is, I probably shouldn't tell people this because
it's a secret.
It's a secret, but the secret to 2Js is you find pre-VVTi 2J motors, NA, and they have the same internals as turbo 2J motors.
Oh my god.
Without the oil squirters, the piston squirters. So the only thing difference is the piston squirters. So you find SC300 non-VVTi bottom end, and you put like a turbo head on it. It's the same thing as a twin turbo motor. So that's what I did. I got a junkyard $300 SC300 motor. I took the stock head off, and then I put my built head on, got it tuned, and it makes like 496 horsepower now. Yeah, and it's been running good ever since. It's funny, right? You can't do that with any motor. You can't. Yeah, and that's what a lot of people run now. Yeah.
I was gonna mention that's what Daigo runs in like everything now.
Yeah, 2J.
Yeah.
Yeah, that car. I still have it, and it's at my friend's shop in Newark, and I plan. I don't know what I want to do with it. It's a really fun drift car because it's just it's excessive, but it's not fun because it's too excessive. You know what I mean? Like, it's a fun drift car because it's like hella powerful and you could put on a good show, but it's not fun because it's too much upkeep. It's too much work.
Oh.
It's way too much car for any car out there. So you can't drive fun with anybody, So I kind of want to like build something more fun and then maybe make that car, repurpose it for something, We'll see. Yeah.
I know what you mean. Being
Yeah.
a Corolla guy, it's like the car is so much upkeep that it's like, is it really worth it anymore?
Yeah. So we'll see. I don't think I'll ever sell it because I put a lot of work into it, a lot of blood and sweat. And it's like, it's like I've always wanted to build a full-blown race car. Like, that's like, like a kid's dream. Like, like, oh, I want to build a race car.
Yeah.
I want to own a race car. So, like, that's my race car. Even though it's, like, beat and haggard and, like, it's been crashed multiple times, I think, that's my race car. So, yeah, I'm gonna hold on to it. I hope I have this, like, dream that when I have kids one day, like my kids are gonna go to school and like, my dad has a race car, and these little shithead kids will be like, your dad has no race car, my dad has a race car, right? And then they're gonna have this like little, like, this little competition at school, right? Like, my dad has a race car, and then his dad has like a Chevy Cobalt or like a Cavalier,
Tesla Model 6,
Tesla Model
right?
6 or like race mode. My dad has a race mode, and then my kid's gonna take sneak out my race car on one day and drive it to his friends. I don't know, who knows, right?
You're gonna leave the keys.
Make this
happen.
Or they have their kids come to the house and like, my dad has a race car, you want to see it? And like he sneaks into the garage and like starts my race car, and then like that's a fucking race car.
There's
You know what I mean?
dude, there's
Like, you know, like, I'm all about flex, man. Like, I want my kids to flex, dude, at school, man. You know? Come on, you think about it. By the time I have kids and they're able to talk like that, like, what do you think? Like 20 years from now? Like 20 years, right? Maybe 15? Can you imagine what 15 years from now, what a real race car is?
in 2035.
Yeah, like what a real race car is there, you know?
Real
Like,
race cars fly, bro.
yeah, but like, can you imagine like my FRS sitting in a fucking garage in 2050?
Yeah.
You know, and then this kid starts it and it pollutes the world. You know, like, yeah, that's fucking flex, dude. Yeah, that's why I hold on to shit, man. I'm nostalgic and I wanna, you know, I'm waiting for that time where I could be proud of myself. You know, like, you know what I mean? Like,
I've realized through the duration of this podcast that Jeff is very image conscious.
yeah, I mean, dude, I like having fun, dude, and like I don't know, I don't know, I'm very personal, so I have well, I want to say personal, but I like personality, you know.
You know,
Like,
that's one thing
Yeah.
in modern motorsports, because you know they have Formula E now.
Yeah.
that shit's whack.
That like that like part of the charm of motorsports is like the visceral feel and sounds of cars,
Absolutely.
which you don't have with Formula E. That's why Formula E is so boring.
Absolutely.
So even like there's older technology that's gonna be lost. Like if you got a big cam in your car, that car may not be fast, but you hear that you're like, oh my god, right? Or like a car that like you screams at $9,000, like, you know, even though the car may only have like a Corolla only has 100 horsepower, if it screams at $9,000, you're like, oh my god,
Yep.
right? Yeah.
Funny story about cam V8s, right? So when I was doing Pro-Am, I put a big cam in my LS powered S14, right? Or S13. And everyone that was like, you know, V8, LS1, like gurus, you know, like they've been doing it for a long time. They're like, why'd you do this cam? Like, why'd you do that? I told you to buy this cam. I'm like, but it doesn't sound cool. so I put this cam in my S13 solely because it was the coolest sounding cam I could find on YouTube. And like till this day, like all my friends that was there when like I was doing the work, they remember because when I started for the first time, they were like, "That's the coolest LS I've ever heard." Like till this day, they're like, and then it's funny because they love me for that because like, dude, like it's all like for me drifting and like my whole lifestyle, it's all about visceral. Like, you know, like you said, like big cam, the sound, the energy you get from like a car that starts up and sounds badass, you know, like I'm all about that.
What was it like to drive with such a big
It
cam?
sucked.
Yeah.
It didn't make enough power. Yeah, it was that cam was a nitrous boost cam,
Oh, okay.
big cam, high lift. Dude, I only made like 20 more horsepower than the stock LS. Everyone said I was hella stupid. My tuner was like, "You're an idiot. Why'd you get this cam?" I was like, "Cause it sounds cool."
But you know, like in like more than motorsports, a lot of sports, a lot of winning is like pre-fight, right? Like the mind games.
Mm.
It is.
So like I'm not a big drift guy, but one of the guys I really like is Mad Mike,
Yeah.
and he still runs a 3-rotor rotary.
Mhm.
And can you imagine, like, just the sound of that car probably like intimidates a lot of people,
yeah,
like
dude.
that da da da
Yeah.
blah 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 blah.
Yeah, it does. It is. So drifting is intimidating. Yeah, like
Yeah.
it's like I tell people all the time, like, drifting is a different race type of sport in a way where like the mindset and your before a run affects greatly.
Oh yeah.
Because in like regular time attack road racing, you're just doing laps. So like, yeah, mindset affects you, but you could focus and you could do a better lap the next time. With drifting, you get in someone's head and you screw them up.
So I know in drifting, they'll vent the back forcefully to force the smoke into the opponent's window.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and they point the exhaust in certain ways to force tire smoke into the opponent's car.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it's all about getting in your driver's head. And when I was competing, at one point when my buddy Matt Field, he was my spotter for a little bit, and he would always tell me, "Get in his head. Don't you like the biggest thing about like drifting was sportsmanship. Like you get next to your driver and compete. You before the run, you look at him, you give him a thumbs up, and you give each other, like it's kind of like boxing. You're like, cool. Before the fight, you guys, do the whole hand thing. It's like drifting. You give him a thumbs up, and he told me straight up, don't look at him, don't acknowledge him. Think he's nothing to you. Just look straight. Don't acknowledge him. Get in his fucking head, right? And I did. I got in his head and I beat him. It was so good. But that's what drifting is. It's like boxing. It's crazy. Yeah. That's what's fun about it. That's what I love about it. Like competitive drifting. That's what I missed most. It's that
Just
aspect.
fucking with people.
Yeah, fucking with people, putting on a good show, and the visceral feel about drifting. Like smoke, putting up smoke, getting close to walls, crashing, bouncing off other, crashing into other cars, and
You're the only person that says crashing and crashing.
Oh man, I love it, dude.
It's fucking fun.
I like. Okay, I want to say crashing. I like like hitting the wall, like grazing the walls.
I don't think anyone likes hitting the
Well,
wall.
I mean, in drifting,
Jeff, I
it's
hit the
cool.
wall before pretty hard
Yeah,
before.
have
I
you?
didn't like it.
Yeah, I wouldn't either. I don't like it, but
You just said you liked it.
yeah, but like it's drifting. Yeah. Okay, I don't like crashing, but
It's part of the experience. right?
I've crashed a lot of cars.
So, I'm gonna paraphrase, but
Okay.
Grant told me that they nicknamed you Wildman because you crashed a lot.
I do. Yeah. Yeah.
He's not paraphrasing. I literally said that.
No, yeah, you did. So it could be a problem. I think it's a problem. But the thing is, like, hear me out. But the thing is, like, if you're not driving on the edge, like, if you're driving on the edge, you're gonna crash, like, one point or another. Like, right?
Grant told me the same thing.
You're like if you're really good at lighting fires, you're gonna get burnt, right? Like eventually, right? Like if you're gonna be drifting, you're gonna be driving a car on the edge, like the ragged edge. We'd rather it be drifting, road racing. You're gonna crash because there's the closer you get to the edge, the less room you have.
You know what though? I think though, Grant and you have both told me that like at that competitive level at FD, you need to drive 11/10 or else you're gonna lose.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
You can't leave anything on the table.
Yeah.
In Formula Drift, the biggest thing that everyone knows that no one talks about is if you leave anything on the table, you don't deserve to win.
You're gonna lose.
You're gonna lose.
Yeah.
So if you take everything off the table, you're gonna win every single time. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, yeah, and if you're driving like that all the time, you're gonna crash. You'll see it to this day. You watch drifters, you watch really fast road racers, and people who've wrecked a few times, they're fast.
Yeah.
People who never wreck, they're never gonna win. They're not putting down fast times.
That's me.
But you're having fun. It's all about having fun.
Now that you mention it, I won't name any names, but there's two drivers in particular I know that, like, third party, I said, yeah, they crash cars a lot, but they're also two big name drivers.
Right.
So I mean that's probably part of it then.
It's a big reason why, because if you're not on a ragged edge and you're not willing to sacrifice that, like the crash, like you're not gonna be putting down a good run, So, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I do crash a lot because I'm wild. I like having fun. That's it. It's all about fun. Like. If you give me something unsafe to drive, I will not crash it. So
Wait, what?
yeah, so like I know if you give me something that's gonna kill me, I ain't gonna crash that thing. So I'm just saying, like, I will crash something that I know.
Oh, you keep yourself out of danger.
Yeah, like I know my limits. I know the limits of what I drive, and I won't put anyone in danger. I won't put myself in danger, but I will drive 11/10. If the car can do it. You know what I mean? So,
well, I think one thing to mention too is like proper FD car with proper safety equipment.
Yeah, that too. Proper safety car, proper car, proper environment too. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna drive you 11/10 up a mountain pass.
I was gonna say, like,
You know what I mean?
keep telling people, because I know a lot of like grassroots drifter now like don't really care about safety. Like I've seen like cages not bolted in,
Yeah.
like you drive an
Just- yeah,
886
just
where the seatbelts don't work, and they're like, oh whatever, seatbelt,
Yeah.
But I keep telling people, like, the reason I hit the wall twice at Laguna, and what probably saved me was all my safety equipment. Like I went to work the next day.
Nice, dude.
Yeah,
What car was this?
my 886, the one,
That thing?
the red one.
That
Yeah,
thing looks cherry.
yeah, because I spent a grip of money after I wrecked that car.
How bad was it? Was it hella bad?
That's bad. Yeah.
Damn.
The whole back end like shifted.
Oh, dude, you saved that thing. I love that.
So,
It's cool.
When I went to the body shop, he's the one who pointed to me like, you know, the door gaps. He was like, "Oh, buddy, come look." The door gap was like a mil on one side and like
An inch on the other side.
on the other side, and he.
Fuck, you wrecked it good.
So like
Right?
I hit I hit the back, and because I hit the back, it threw the front into the
you-
wall.
I've done that a lot
So
of times. Yeah.
like,
you learn how to do that. You learn
so-
how to get out of that.
so
Yeah.
it bent the car into the letter C.
Oh, wow.
He even showed me like, hey, look at your sunroof. Look what the gap looks like on your
That's
sunroof.
crazy. I'm glad you saved it, dude. A lot of people would have just wrote it off. Yeah, that's cool. And then now it's like the best Corolla looking. It's the best looking Corolla in the Bay Area.
I do my best. Thank
One
you,
of the
man.
best ones.
Thank
but
you,
yeah,
man.
it looks
I
good.
do my
It's like-
best. Yeah.
yeah, that's cool. See, that has character. See, like it might not be worth like $20,000, but it has a character because you
So-
brought it back.
So one thing I left on purpose. There's two. If next time I'll show you. There's two marks on my wing
Mm-hmm.
that I left unpainted on purpose to remind myself, like, dude, I wrecked this thing at one point and I walked away. So
That's
like
cool.
I gotta like still respect this car and like
Yeah.
remember, you know.
That's cool, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, character, dude. That's
Yeah.
cool. Yeah.
It's funny to talk about it because Grant was there that day.
Oh,
Yeah.
man. Was this a long time ago? How long was this?
A couple years ago,
Couple years? That's cool. Wow.
maybe 2.5.
I know. If I saw, I looked at your car, you know, like it's in a shop.
You would never know.
It's on a left.
Yeah.
Like I look under it. I'm checking it all the time, and yeah, I would never know.
You
That's
would
cool.
never know, yeah.
Wow. Don't
Yeah.
buy Ezekiel's car, guys. I'm just kidding. Yeah.
Well, what's it called? Yeah, time goes by.
Never,
fast, but
never,
it's
never
probably,
crashed, never drifted.
It's
Corolla.
probably been 2 years now.
Damn.
At
that's
least,
cool.
at least.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I'm glad you saved it. Yeah. And then this Grant won't even drive his car. Like, come on. He's like he wrecked his car into the sea, and like you won't drive yours because it can't shift.
I only have 3 gears.
Well, okay, hold on. So it's a little bit different. We're
know.
like really freaking busy
I know.
here.
Yeah.
Like
I'm just talking shit.
Yeah. But I mean,
Hey man, I'm busy. I have like 3 jobs, and I still have time to crash cars and shit. You know. No. I mean, I'm not saying you're less busy than me, but I just get less sleep than you do.
we'll bring Grant's card out.
You guys
this year.
should. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
like I said, you need an outlet. You know, like everybody needs an outlet. Like, unless you're gonna be crazy in your normal life, right? So, and like a part of, I guess you could edit this out. Actually, whatever. Fuck, I don't care. Like, Grant says he's stressed out all the time and he like smokes and all this shit. But I think he really needs to just go out and race his car. You know, I think
No,
he
I
needs an
agree.
outlet. I
Yeah,
think so
yeah,
because
I
like
agree.
that's the whole reason why I do like all this shit. Like I stay up till like 3:00 in the morning working on cars. I go 3 days without sleep because I know that at the end of the week I'm racing. I'm going out there and racing. And then everyone says like, why do you do this? You show up to the racetrack and you crash your car. Like why do you look forward to it? I'm like, dude, like it's still fun to me because the work I put in during the week and then the fun I get out of it, like with my friends, it's all worth it, you know?
Yeah.
That really hits home actually because I started Battle Garage just so I could fund track days and then totally flipped.
Guess what? You
Yeah.
lost that. You lost what is that goal.
Yeah.
So it's not too late. You're still.
Well, it kind of is now.
no, it's
but-
not, dude.
It's
You
not
don't
too
have
late.
any kids, bro.
No, I
dude.
meant with the whole quarantine thing.
Oh, whatever, dude.
Well, okay, so
That's a joke.
So regardless of the quarantine thing, like
Yeah, as you can
like you
tell-
have so
Well, let me hold on. Let me paint a picture for you guys. All right. So it's March. What is it? March
20th
21st on Friday quarantine, like
Saturday. It's Saturday
peak-
already.
peak California quarantine, right? And the 3 of us are sitting in a shop in Fremont. So yeah, next episode we're gonna talk about Grant and how we could get his car out on the track.
Well, next
Driver-
episode, we talk about it now.
Driver spotlight. Let's get him driving. Well, he can't be on the driver spotlight if he
'Cause I
doesn't
don't drive.
drive. So what's up? We gotta fix that.
You know, we've never done an episode for Grant or Battle Garage.
We should. I think he's hiding.
I've been trying to do that for the
Yeah, you're hiding,
past
dude.
freaking 3 years.
Yeah. That's funny because I think you've told me like multiple times that you started Battle Garage because you want to drive more. I think you should because I think literally that will fix everything.
You know,
I don't think it will, Jeff.
It will, and it'll trickle down to everything that you do. I
know,
think you'll be happier.
to
You'll
his
smoke
point,
less.
like-
you're like, you know,
to his
wake
point,
up
like,
earlier.
dude,
You're gonna have fun. I don't know, whatever. All the good shit people do.
hey, so we have a real facility now. We have real tools. You have someone to actually work on your car now.
Shit, my girlfriend's calling. Hold on.
Hold on. If you're gonna talk to your girlfriend,
Hey,
get
can I
out of
call
here.
you back? Okay, I'm on a podcast. Bye. Bye. Sorry, guys.
Oh, she's pissed.
Nah, it's cool. I have a cool girlfriend.
Yeah, but yeah, dude, I don't think I've told you before, but I mean, the reason I've put so much work in your car is because I want to see that thing drive.
Oh man.
I respect you, and I want to see that thing drive. I want to see you drive, right?
The funny thing is that like you have more things at your hand. Like you're more. You have the best equipment to like get your car running now than you've ever had before you started Battle Garage.
Yeah.
And you still won't drive. Like, dude.
So yeah, I mean, to your point,
Yeah,
like,
dude. Like
like
you have no excuses, man.
the one transmission outside of Japan right now, right?
Yeah, it's in your car. I don't. Is it? I don't know.
It is.
Wait,
dude,
wait.
like-
So to your point, in your car, not mine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think Grant's the type of person that we have to trick him into like driving. Like, hey Grant, can I borrow your car for this track day and like work on it, trailer it there? And he's like, hey, can I just come and like watch you drive my car? But like, psych, you're driving your car. You know? He's like, oh man, okay. I think we have to trick him.
How
into
did we
doing
get?
it.
How did we get you out last time?
I don't know. That's before my time.
Well, I mean, the car was like, yeah, it was ready to go to track day, like basically. Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. I think we all should drive again. Like, I think that helps. Like, you know, like how tech assholes in the Bay Area go out drinking after like a work day. Like that's something we need to do. Like go track days. You know,
Mhm.
like, you know. So I think that's something that you should do because like you can't just all work no play. You know, like it's not good for you, right?
On that note, we will close the podcast.
On that note, the next podcast is gonna be at the track day with Grant, Battle Garage, at the track.
Yeah, before the end of the year, we got to do one track.
We have to,
Yeah,
man.
I agree.
Like, dude,
I agree.
like,
Yeah,
like grip event or drifting, whatever.
yeah.
I'm building an EG, so we could drive.
Let's do it, dude. Let's battle.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Hot version battle.
That'd be
Out
sick.
version FR versus FF.
That'd be sick.
I'll
just,
still win.
just don't crash into me, please.
No promise. I will crash into you if you're in my way.
Thank you again, Jeff, for being on the podcast.
Yeah,
I've
it's
been
fun.
wanting you on the podcast for a
It's
long
fun,
time now,
yeah.
and I'm glad we finally found time. And then, like, thank you so much for staying. And then, thank you, Grant, as always, for being on the podcast. One of these days, one of these years, we'll do a industry spotlight on Battle Garage. Who knows when that day will be? But one of these days, man. Yeah.
All right, let's do it, man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
hopefully soon. Yeah, you know. We work in this industry like for the passion of cars, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Mhm.
how can you not drive?
Yeah.
Like, come on, right?
But definitely thank both you guys
Thank
again,
you.
and
Yeah.
then
No, thank you, man.
we'll definitely have more of these podcasts. I mean, I really enjoyed this.
Yeah, this was too fun.
This is fun.
Yeah, just gotta get some beer and Jeff.
There's some beer in Jeff.
Yeah, alcohol, right? Wildman
Alright.
comes out.
Ooh.
That's the trick, dude.
It is. It is.
Thank you again, Wildman. We will have you on again next time.
All right. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.